Look, this is the website I was telling you about.
Oh, wow, it looks pretty good.
David Mitchell stood in his modest kitchen, checking the room for rent posting one more time before hitting submit. At 36, the single father had learned to stretch every dollar since his wife's passing 2 years ago. Between his job as a property manager and raising his 10-year-old daughter Emma, renting out the spare bedroom had become a necessity rather than a choice. The small apartment wasn't much to look at. Functional furniture, a kitchen that had seen better days, and walls that needed fresh paint. But it was clean, safe, and close to the university. David hoped it would appeal to a responsible college student who needed affordable housing as much as he needed the rental income. 3 days later, Sophia Voss knocked on his door. At 22, she had long dark hair and wore simple jeans and a white t-shirt that suggested a modest budget. She carried herself with quiet confidence but seemed genuinely interested in the small room he showed her. The rent is $600 a month. Utilities included, David explained, opening the door to the spare bedroom. It's not fancy, but it's quiet and you'd have your own space. Sophia looked around the room thoughtfully. It's perfect. I'm a junior at the university, studying business and economics. I keep to myself, I'm clean, and I can pay first month's rent up front. David found himself liking her straightforward manner. What's your living situation been like before this? I've been in the dorms, but I wanted something more normal, more like a real home. Sophia's voice carried a wistfulness that David recognized from his own childhood spent in temporary arrangements. Well, it's definitely a real home here, David said with a smile. My daughter Emma is 10, so it can get a little noisy sometimes. I hope you don't mind kid sounds. I'd love to meet her, Sophia replied genuinely. I miss being around family. That evening, Sophia moved in with a single suitcase and a laptop bag. David noticed she didn't seem to own much, but she appeared content with the arrangement. Emma, who had been shy at first, quickly warmed to their new housemate when Sophia showed genuine interest in her school projects and listened patiently to her stories about fourth-grade drama. Over the following weeks, Sophia settled into their routine seamlessly. She helped with dishes without being asked, never left messes, and often brought home small treats for Emma from campus. David found himself looking forward to their casual conversations over morning coffee before he left for work. Sophia, he said one morning, noticing her typing intently on her laptop. What's your major again? Business and economics, Sophia replied, closing the laptop quickly. Boring stuff, mostly numbers and theory. David noticed she seemed uncomfortable discussing school in detail, but he respected her privacy. Everyone had topics they preferred to keep to themselves. What David didn't know was that Sophia's laptop displayed emails from Voss Holdings, the multinational corporation her father had built into a billion-dollar empire. As the only heir to Richard Voss's fortune, Sophia had grown up in mansions with staff, private jets, and every luxury money could buy. But she had also grown up lonely, surrounded by people who wanted something from her family's wealth. Coming to university under her mother's maiden name had been Sophia's attempt to experience normal life. She wanted to know what it felt like to have relationships based on who she was rather than what she could provide. Living with David and Emma had given her something she'd never experienced, a family that cared about her presence, not her presence. Sophia's carefully maintained secret began to show cracks when her father's assistant called during dinner one evening. Sophia stepped outside to take the call, speaking in hushed, urgent tones about board meetings and acquisition strategies. Everything okay? David asked when she returned, noting her stressed expression. Just family stuff, Sophia said vaguely. Nothing I can't handle. But David was observant by nature and he'd begun noticing inconsistencies. Sophia's clothes were simple but high quality. Her laptop was top of the line. She never seemed concerned about money despite claiming to live on a student budget. Most telling, she sometimes used business terminology that seemed far beyond typical undergraduate knowledge. The truth came out 3 months later when Emma fell seriously ill with appendicitis. David rushed her to the emergency room, calling Sophia to let her know he wouldn't be home. What he didn't expect was for Sophia to appear at the hospital an hour later. How did you get here so fast? David asked, noting she'd somehow changed into an expensive-looking dress and heels. I took a cab, Sophia said unconvincingly, glancing around the hospital waiting room where a man in a dark suit stood nearby, clearly security. When the doctor explained that Emma needed surgery and mentioned concerns about David's insurance coverage, Sophia stepped forward quietly. "Doctor, please make sure Emma gets the absolute best care available. Don't worry about the cost." David stared at Sophia in confusion. "Sophia, what are you talking about?" Before Sophia could answer, the man in the suit approached. "Ms. Voss, your father's plane is standing by if you need to return to New York." David's world tilted. "Ms. Voss?" Sophia closed her eyes. The secret she'd guarded for months finally exposed. "David, I need to tell you something." In the hospital cafeteria while Emma was in surgery, Sophia revealed the truth. She was Sophia Voss, heir to the Voss Holdings fortune, living under an assumed identity to experience normal college life. "I wanted to know what it felt like to be valued for myself," Sophia explained, tears in her eyes. "With you and Emma, I wasn't the billionaire's daughter. I was just Sophia who helped with homework and shared morning coffee." David sat quietly, processing the revelation. "So the rent money? The student budget story?" "I was trying to live authentically within the role I'd created," Sophia said. "The money didn't matter to me, but the relationship did. You and Emma became the family I never had." David looked at this young woman who had become so important to their daily life, seeing her completely differently yet somehow exactly the same. "Sophia," he said finally, "I don't care if you're worth $1 billion or have nothing to your name. What matters is how you've treated Emma and me. You've been genuine, kind, and caring. That's who you are regardless of your bank account." Sophia began crying, relief washing over her. "I was so afraid you'd think I was deceiving you, playing some kind of game with poor people." "Were you?" David asked directly. "No," Sophia said firmly. "These months with you and Emma have been the most real and meaningful of my life. I love that little girl like she's my sister, and I care about you more than I've ever cared about anyone." When Emma came out of surgery successfully, Sophia was there holding David's hand in the waiting room. Over the following days, as Emma recovered, Sophia remained a constant presence, reading stories and bringing Emma's favorite foods. "David," Sophia said one evening as Emma slept peacefully, "I know everything's different now that you know the truth. If you want me to move out, I understand." David looked at Sophia, this woman who had worried about his daughter's medical bills, who had stayed by their side during a crisis, who had brought laughter and warmth into their home. "Sophia, you're not going anywhere unless you want to. You're family now, billionaire or not." Sophia smiled through fresh tears. "There's something else I should tell you." "What's that?" "I've been talking to my father about hiring you to oversee some of our residential properties. Your expertise in property management combined with your integrity and character is exactly what our company needs." David raised an eyebrow. "Sophia, I don't want charity." "It's not charity," Sophia replied. "It's recognizing talent and character when I see it. You've managed to create a stable, loving home for Emma on limited resources. You've built trust with tenants and maintained properties efficiently. Those are skills my father's company values." 6 months later, David found himself managing a portfolio of high-end residential properties for Voss Holdings, earning more than he'd ever thought possible. But more importantly, Sophia had become a permanent part of their family, splitting her time between her business responsibilities and the small apartment that had become her first real home. Emma, now fully recovered and thriving in school, often introduced Sophia as her big sister to classmates. Sophia treasured the title more than any corporate position she'd ever held. One evening, as they sat around the kitchen table helping Emma with homework, David reflected on how dramatically their lives had changed. "Sophia," he said, "when I posted that room for rent, I thought I was just trying to make ends meet." Sophia looked up from Emma's math problems. "And now I realize sometimes the best things come in packages you never expect. You needed a real family, and we needed someone who would love us for who we are, not what we have." Sophia smiled, looking around the modest kitchen that had become more precious to her than any mansion she'd inherited. "You know what the funny thing is?" Sophia said. "I spent my whole life surrounded by luxury, but I never understood what wealth really meant until I lived here. Real wealth isn't money. It's having people who care about you showing up when you need them most." As Emma announced she'd finished her homework, David and Sophia realized they had discovered something worth more than any fortune. A chosen family built on genuine love, mutual respect, and the understanding that the most valuable things in life can't be bought or sold.